Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Doing it live.
All right.
Fuck it. Today on Stumbling Down History Road, we're going to be going over Games Workshop and Warhammer 40k. I am Jackson.
I'm Gerard.
And I am D.
So, let's start us off. Who knows what about what?
I don't know much about Games Workshop itself. I know enough about the Warhammer 40k lore because it just amuses me.
All right, let's start there.
I mean,
I don't know why I'm doing this voice.
it's kind of like a
Say,
weird
nice announcer
Christian
voice.
Bale, Jim
No.
Carrey announcer voice.
Nah, I wouldn't say Jim Carrey, Christian Bale announcer. I'd say more game show host.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Oh, since we're so early on in this, I'm going to say it now, so this way it doesn't get lost. Episode 25, 25 shots amongst whoever's available with us, and it's going to be live. So we're just going to do a sit around fucking hangout. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, fucking talk about it. You said that you know lore.
I mean, so Warhammer 40k.
Yep, throwing you right under the bus.
It's now it's 41k technically since it's a timeline.
Yep.
So it's Warhammer.
It's old news.
And it takes place in the 41st century. And
What exactly is Warhammer?
so it's like
This guy.
it's a tabletop game, and you could play as there's the fantasy version, and then
That's
there's,
Age of Sigmar,
yes, and then there's the 40k version.
which is not Age of Sigmar. That's
That's
just
the-
Warhammer 40k.
that's
There's
the-
also Warhammer 30k during the Heresy, but
Which I believe is now just really called Horus Heresy. Just the Horus Heresy, anyway.
you got to speak at the mic and louder.
Which I believe is now just called the Horus Heresy, anyway. So
I don't recall
at least it's
offhand.
a part of the 30k timeline.
So yeah, I mean, that's when it actually takes place. The Horus Heresy in 30k, the timeline.
The 30,000th century.
Yeah. Which we'll go over and we'll talk about. But yeah, so Warhammer 40k is a tabletop, almost role-playing game, but not quite. It's a tabletop game.
It's the core.
could
game
argue
is
it's
is a
almost-
strategic game.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that it's almost role-playing based off the fact that, like,
Well, there is a
They set up-
role-playing game based off of 40k that's RP heavy. It's, I think, Rogue Traders.
well, I was going based off the fact that whenever they do Grand Prix, because Games Workshop likes to do these things called Grand Prix, which is just giant culminations. They run, over the course of time, and they'll actually, like once a year, twice a year, input the lore that's happening in 40k in the books and everything with what happens at these GPs, the Grand Prix. So you could argue that it's almost role-playing because everything that you do on the tabletop game in that environment matters effectively. But they'll take thousands of GPs and be like, all right, so it won.
Okay.
It'll be like, all right, the Heresy won this, skirmish 40 to 39, let's say. So in the lore, they just barely eked them out, even though it was getting set up in the lore that they would lose. But it turned out GP said no.
I mean, if the person who is playing the game can make it so that these people are set to lose actually wins, then I guess that would make sense because a strategic mind made it work.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, it's kind of a strategy, kind of a role-playing, but
And if
definitely
they're-
just tabletop.
And if they're Ultramarines, they'll always
Well-
win anyway because that's how blue works.
Yes, DACA. But
Always
The-
need
it-
more DACA.
there's so much fucking lore about this. I mean, it really is ridiculous. There's so much fan-made stuff. There's dozens of books just between the culmination of dozens of writers. There's,
The
like
Angry
five.
Marines, which are a fan-made chapter.
there's like 5 books on one specific chapter alone, and there's 40 some odd chapters, and then because the way that the world is set up, there's these fan made chapters, and it just, although Games Workshop kind of did away with that, but there's movies, there's money, there's movies, there's
Wait, are there
computer
movies?
games. What's up?
Was there a 40K movie?
So nothing officially like
I've seen like
for
fan animation
theaters,
shit.
but yeah, it's like OVA style stuff.
And I know that Henry Cavill is trying to do something, I think, with Amazon, right? For a 40K series?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a TV series, but
There's
Henry
also-
Cavill is set to do something with Amazon. He announced it on Instagram
There's
as
also
of
the,
recording this.
And there's also the 2 Space Marine games. The new one that they
Yeah,
just
so that's what I said,
announced.
computer games. Like,
Well, that's going to be that's going to hopefully also be on console too.
No, there's RTS computer games and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so
that is
like Vermintide,
Vermintide. I know is
which is
console.
very much like a tower defense, total defense style thing. You can take Total War. You can like the Total War series.
Yes.
We'll cover the Total War series.
There's also
Oh,
the
that would be a
new-
good episode,
There's
yeah.
also the newest game, Darktide.
Yeah, I'm just saying like that's one of the things, but there's all sorts of just insane. Just it really is way too much lore.
If you can,
Just
much
covering the
think it-
lore, just covering the lore is going to be like a 10-part series.
yeah,
It,
if you can think it, it can pretty much happen in the 40K universe.
Wait, so you're saying Fate Stay Night can happen in the 40K universe? Because hypothetically, 40K can happen in Fate Stay Night.
I'm not saying no, but I
I
am
don't know.
saying you're an idiot.
No, if you understand the lore of Fate Stay Night, hypothetically, it works.
Well, I don't understand the lore of Fate Stay Night, and I barely understand the lore of 40K at best, but
So let's talk about some of the different chapters, some of the different races. We'll talk a little bit about like some of the different deities and just the very broad overview of this truly expansive lore and world that Games Workshop, I keep mentioning, we'll talk a little bit about them, has really culminated and set up for us.
chapters. Let's see, what can we start off with chapters? Who's your
I mean, we
favorite
could kind of just start off with how, like, what the 40K universe or what the Warhammer.
Yeah, what it is. It's basically
So it's the future.
Yes, we got that it's the future.
I can see the future.
Future.
I can see the future.
It's described as a grimdark fantasy setting.
Yeah,
so
so very surreal, realist, ultra violent,
Yeah.
almost post-apocalyptic Mad Max style worlds on all of it, but each of it's like different fantasy aspects. So some of them are like nothing but toxic fumes. Some of them are
Some of the
gladiators. Some of them are gladiatorial fucking things. Some of them
Some
are
of the worlds are also like
peaceful.
absolute
Some of them,
Yeah.
and
pleasure
it's
centers. That too.
you keep talking at me and not at the mic, so I can't hear you.
Saying pleasure centers too.
Yeah. We'll talk about the whorehouses.
I don't want to talk.
There's a
about the
whorehouse in
whorehouses.
Texas.
There's a whorehouse.
The best little whorehouse in Texas.
There is a little whorehouse in Texas.
Most of the
Burt
time,
Reynolds
there are
lived together.
planets dedicated to it. There are planets dedicated to it.
But
Or- don't
But
need
yeah,
to-
so basically what ends up happening is humans discover the ways to get into different planets, different things like this. This is like very, very, very early, before the God Emperor of Mankind. They end up doing all sorts of terrestrialization and colonization of these planets, terraforming. They end up having different races combat them. There's elves, there's Tau. We'll get into that. But they end up, doing a little expansion. There's these things called psychers, which are basically like think Jean Grey from X-Men, but kind of different. Some of them are like that. Some of them are like Scarlet Witch, just to use Marvel because that's the hotness in movies.
That's the hotness.
the hotness.
Hey, I don't care what you say. Fucking Elizabeth Olsen. But,
Tarantino in the latest Doctor Strange went crazy for it because of her bare feet scenes.
oh my God, there was at least two.
God.
And then, all the ones in She-Hulk now. Definitely made Taron. Now he's interested in being a Marvel project.
Hey, look, if you can get Selma Hayek to stick her foot in your mouth and fucking pour you a beer from it, whatever. Man had that kind of power. But so they
He
end
only
up
did that after he got the part. He wasn't supposed to play the part, but he just kind of happened because the guy wasn't supposed to be there. So then he did it afterwards. True story.
but they Earth and the humans, they end up starting to colonize these planets. There's a couple powerful psychers, and they're more or less like the amalgam, the genetic makeup, the code, the I'm trying to think of it, the progenitors of the psychers, and one of them ends up being the God Emperor of Mankind. I don't remember his name. I don't care to remember his name. It's the God Emperor of Mankind.
It's Simon.
Technically have a name.
It's Simon.
It's Sam I Am.
And if you follow the lore deep enough and understand it, you'll know that he's also technically Jesus. Call back to our last episode that isn't up.
Jesus?
When I said that, if you understand how Bleach lore works and know it's right, Yuha Bach is Jesus in the Bleach universe.
Yeah. But, so all of the other, progenitors end up dying, and he gets a bunch of power, and yes, we're going this far
No,
back.
they sacrificed themselves, if I remember correctly, and poured all their power into the God Emperor of Mankind, which is why he's so powerful. He's also called a...
Tell me, El Jefe, what would you say a sacrifice is, if not dying?
Well, yes. It would be that.
Forgive me, El Guapo, for I am not as smart as you.
Shut up.
Three amigos. Do you know what a plethora is?
Forgive me, El Guapo.
If I remember,
I do not know what a plethora is.
that process also turned him into a perpetual.
Yes, that's what it was. Perpetuals. That was the original name of it. There you go. I knew it started with a P and not progenitor.
Uh-huh. And one of the cool things about perpetuals is they can pretty much come back from almost any injury. Good
It's like
example
they're
of that.
perpetually around.
Yes. Good example of that would be Vulcan of the Salamanders, who is one of the chapters we can get into.
But yeah, so they end up discovering this thing called the warp, and that allows them to get all super fancy space travel.
Too tight. I
Giggity.
packed this too tight.
But
I'm going to stop myself.
yeah, so they end up, getting into the warp, and there's these chaos lords, chaos demons, chaos gods that just kind of are like, hey, you shouldn't be here. Let's fuck up your mind. And lo and behold, most normal humans are not set to deal with that.
Humanity decided to fuck around.
And find out.
Yes, and unfortunately, they found out the very, very hard way.
But the God Emperor was like, yo, I'm going to make some Primarchs. But before that, he was like, yo, I'm going to make some... What's the name? Thunder something.
Warriors.
Thunder Warriors. I'm going to make
Yes.
some Thunder Warriors. He's like,
Those were...
I'm going to take normal humans, and I'm going to throw in some of my genes at them, and then they're going to be like OP, but they're going to be like fucking whack.
Well,
because they're not meant to be.
Just have some of his genes put into him too. They also had
You have such a soothing voice. Has anyone told you this?
no, they haven't.
It's almost like you haven't, had your balls drop.
Fuck off
No.
with a rake.
Kindly, gently, no.
I remember
Not
Bill
kindly,
O'Reilly got
not gently,
pissed off at ICP
with a
because of
rake.
that joke.
What?
What?
Oh, Bill O'Reilly, he got
Call back.
really pissed off at the Insane Clown Posse because at a signing event, Violent J jokingly asked a 13-year-old kid if his balls dropped. And then
Sounds
Bill
about
O'Reilly's like, The fuck you doing that? And it's like, just a funny joke. Fuck off. I don't know.
Relax. Take a breather. Where was I? 'Cause I just
We were talking about the Thunder Warriors
All right. Yeah. But
and how they went batshit crazy
Well-
after a couple years.
they didn't essentially go batshit crazy. Their bodies weren't able to handle the augmentations that the Emperor had put them through, so they would essentially deteriorate to the point where their bodies would fall apart, or they would, yes, go crazy. What most of humanity was told was that they valiantly gave their lives in battle. What the real truth is that the Emperor had his
Straight
new
marked, son.
Yep, he had his new sons, the Adeptus
Custodes.
yeah, the Adeptus
He had the
Custodes
Custodes.
absolutely wiped the fucking floor with the Thunder Warriors because
Which-
the Custodes are the embodiment of the perfection he sought.
At the mic. Boy.
I'm trying.
No, you are not.
You're talking to Jackson.
I'm also talking semi. I'm trying to talk to the mic while looking at you. That is how I speak. I apologize.
No, we're talking to the camera.
I don't talk to the camera. I'm sorry. Sometimes I have to learn how to do that.
Camera.
Well, there's the camera.
I get it.
Say hi, camera.
Hi, camera.
Oh, he's learning.
Haven't you done this before?
No.
Lost episode. Call back.
Yeah, we tried doing this episode before, but it
We never did this episode before. It's just he
Lost.
was on a Lost episode. But yeah, the Custodes, they fucked around with the Thunder Warriors and they fucking the Thunder Warriors found out.
Yes, because
But
compared to the Thunder Warriors, the Custodes were the embodiment of perfection.
yes, you
said
said that.
I know.
Jinx.
I'm just doubling down on that one.
But the Custodes, as stated, imperfection. They're all
I am
gold.
perfection.
They are. You'll learn what a Primarch is and a Space Marine. We'll go over this, but they are effectively the most perfect of perfect for that, and they are the God Emperor's personal bodyguards. Yeah, they just kind of like guard him and
you
protect
mean
the.
the big skeleton.
Yes, the God Emperor eventually found out why you don't be a bad dad. He wasn't the
Yes.
best dad. We'll talk about what he's done to some of his kids at an episode.
Angron?
Yeah,
Biggest example, yes, would be Angron.
yeah.
Unfortunately, who then the Chaos Gods found out about them and went, "Hey, fuck that!
It's free real estate.
It is."
Well, that's not exactly what happened.
Well, yeah.
Somehow there's a mother to these guys. All the Primarchs. How many Primarchs are there?
22?
You sure about that?
We don't talk about some of them.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Well, there's 2 that are lost. We don't know their names. We don't know anything about
I'm
them.
a Primarch.
Because I'm pretty sure there's just 20.
You sure?
Pretty sure.
Are we sure?
Pretty sure.
Pretty sure.
Pretty sure. So yeah, this woman probably
Well, that's-
gave birth to 20 fucking Primarchs, which, mind you, are like
20.
yeah, which mind you are like 18 of me. They're I don't know, fucking 20 feet tall,
It was just
800
one woman?
fucking pounds.
There's not multiple mamas?
Oh, there's not multiple mamas.
No, there was just one.
And very shortly after birth, she ends up actually like getting chaos whooped and sending him away. Yeah, she sent him away.
Huh.
Huh.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The mother gave birth to these 20 Primarchs.
Not to mama.
The mother gave birth to these
Not to
20
mama.
Primarchs, and they end up getting thrown across the universe and all sorts of different planets.
It's free real estate.
Some of them end up on nice planets, as stated.
And some of them end up on not very nice planets.
And
Yeah.
some of the nice ones end up on the not nice planets, and some of the not nice ones end up on the nice planets. Who'd have thunk it?
That too. There are some
Like
who
your
are,
boy Angron.
So,
Yeah.
so as it turns out, all 20 of these were supposed to have one particular like empathy or kindness or courage or confidence, some trait of the God Emperor of mankind. Some of them were able to retain that and it worked to their favor. Some of them were not.
Like, one's like
Very
Roldorn.
specifically, Angron was not.
Yes.
Angron got fucked.
Ones that kind of worked out for would be Rogaldorn, Robert Gilliman,
Wolf guy.
Lehman Russ,
Sanguinius.
Sanguinius, yeah.
Pretty much any of the
well,
ones that didn't get turned by the heresy.
No,
one's the
even,
vampire
even,
one?
Even for Fulgrim.
Sanguinius.
It even worked out well for Fulgrim.
Duh.
Magnus.
Magnus, too.
Magnus for Magnuson.
Is
Yep.
that the crow one?
No, he's the guy that ends up turning into a red demon boy.
Ah.
Magnus of Red.
I mean, where Vulcan's home planet is a hardy place to live, but
Mortarion.
yeah, they turned out right.
You know, I'm
Where-
realizing a
where
lot
Terry?
of this is taken from Dune. There's a lot of Dune references in this.
Yeah, so as it turns out, Games Workshop is a British company and uses a lot of references from other things because Britain has
Vampires.
very, very good fantasy writers.
Oh yeah, no, the guy who does the
Terry Pratchett, yeah.
the person
Douglas Adams.
the person who does the Sanguinius.
Neil Gaiman?
No. The person
H.P.
who
Lovecraft?
he very dead. And
Tolkien?
Very racist. He also very dead.
Also very racist.
Eh. But no, the
Can we talk about the cat and how the cat is super racist? You could probably spend an entire hour on just the H.P. Lovecraft cat.
What?
H.P. Lovecraft named his cat the N-word.
Yeah. Like I said, we could probably spend an entire hour about just the cat.
He
H.P. Lovecat.
I can
Okay.
quite literally, unfortunately, just imagine him saying that, and it's everyone just looking around like, are you just...
No,
what?
this was the 20s.
Yeah, but... No,
No,
yeah,
this was the 20s.
I get it. I get it.
You kind of unfortunately get away with that shit in the 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And despite what people think, America wasn't like... Sure, we were fucked up. We're still fucked up. But, like, we did away with slavery and that before most of Europe. Yes.
A lot of Europe, yes. Not Britain, though. I could see in the
Is
colonies.
this going to turn into a when did slavery end for Europe?
No.
No,
episode?
We'll come back to that.
No.
We'll come back to that with somebody with with maybe an extra person who's a little bit more.
Knowledge on the subject?
You know what? Couldn't stop my thought there. Yeah, you know, as I said in I think the psychedelics one, we're all, you know.
Yeah.
Fun times. Anyway,
I'm going to have some editing to do.
we're gonna have some editing to do.
But space sharks. Woo!
So anyway, so Primarchs, they were thrown into the warp.
Yeah, they were thrown. No, not
And-
into the warp. They were thrown into the universe. They kind of just got like.
Oh, so they got Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were lost to the warp.
And then.
But didn't they follow the God Emperor's beacon?
No. What happened was the God Emperor was
Pardon me.
on his way to. So he ends up getting Space Marines, which are like baby Primarchs. Primarchs, like 4 hearts, 5 set of lungs, 52 organs that are just spare parts, effectively.
Base them off of
The Primarchs,
the...
but weaker.
Yes, their gene seeds are what made up the different legions at the time of Space Marines, because now they're just called chapters and they're broken apart, but then they were called legions.
So, just to put it in comparison, Shaq, Primarch, normal person, Space Marine. Just for like a size comparison. Obviously, some Space Marines are a little different. We'll get over one of them, very particular, and how some of them are just like, you know what? I'm actually more badass than a fucking Primarch.
And then we could also possibly talk about
And there's also 2 Primarchs that weren't that big. They're actually normal Space Marine size. Alpha and Omega. Alpharion and Omegas.
my name's My name's Alfarius.
No, I am Alpharius.
There's so
The
many memes
Alpha
about
and
that.
the Omega. I am the terror that flaps in the night.
Alfarius
I
and
am
Omega.
Son Goku, and I am a super.
Well, no, the terror that flaps in the night would be the Lord of the Night Lords,
Craven.
who is currently without a head and very dead.
Craven? Was Craven Night Lords? Or was Craven Night Lords, or was he
Yes. Craven was Night Lords. Corvus Corax was the Raven Guard.
Yeah.
And then the
speaking
Raven Guard
of,
became
he
Space
is
Sharks.
Apparently, he is apparently a
There's like Batman.
loyalist demon.
There's like full-on fucking Batman, too.
Pretty much.
There's
Corvus
vampires.
Corax is pretty much,
There's
due to his
mummies.
time spent in the warp, become
There's zombie
there's the
robots.
Legion of the Damned.
Yep.
There's orcs.
And
But back to-
Zombie robots would be the Necrons.
But back
orcs
to...
were originally made to fight the Necrons,
Yes.
and
But-
they originally
Never
called.
ending enemy.
But back to, real fast, the lore, the history of the lore. Big Daddy God Emperor was like, yo, bro, I'm going to go fetch my boys after like 50 years or something, depending on how long it took for each one. And was like, hey, yo, I'm your dad. You're my kid. Come with me or I'm going to fuck you up. Some of them were like, yo, please, I've been waiting for you.
And
Some of them were like, no.
yeah, some of them were less than receptive to the God Emperor showing up and being like, well, you're coming with me. And they're like,
But
"Where
I
the
don't
fuck have you been?"
wanna.
Yeah, it's like, where have you been? Like, no.
Yeah.
And one of them was
Angron.
Angron.
We keep mentioning Angron because he's my favorite of the direct chapters.
He's the only one whose name I know directly.
No, the World Eaters is my favorite direct chapter.
Oh, I mean, I guess
They
Sanguine is
were.
too.
The Bloodhounds.
What were they? The
Bloodhounds.
They were known as the Bloodhounds prior.
Yeah. And then
So
they got
each
adapted
chapter
into
kind of
World
has
Eaters.
like a theme.
Yeah. But as stated, each Primarch has a theme. Each Primarch has
Wolves.
one trait that gets associated with them from the God Emperor, whether it be confidence or empathy or sadism or, XYZ. Some are, fantastic militant strategists. Some of them are just on the battlefield indomitable effectively. Some of them
The
are...
Imperial Fists.
Some of them have better psyker powers. Some of them,
Feast.
yeah, and they all have their own sub theme. And then later on down the line, when the chapters start getting integrated, because we get down like that, they end up having like mixed things. So again, Space Sharks that I keep referencing, it's well believed that they're part like Raven Guard, part Night Lords, and they kind of just like arrived from the 15th chapter division, which is like
They
it
show up,
fucking-
they fuck shit up, they
Well,
bounce.
with
They refuse to elaborate any further.
well,
Yeah.
well, not even that. Like, the description.
No, they literally, if it's like
I know,
show up,
but the
they fuck shit
description,
up.
the description that
people also like, if you haven't seen them in battle, people also like don't believe that they're real because they're extremely stealthy.
They
and
also-
they
Stealthy, stealth,
they
sneaky,
they
sneak,
will
sneak,
fight
sneak.
anybody.
and you would
Like,
think
just
Even
don't get in their
Marines
way.
themselves.
Yeah, don't get in their way, or they'll fight you.
You would
They're very much
think
loyalist, but
you
with
get
the
in
fact
our
that
way,
they just kind of like surprise bitches.
Yep. You would also think
Almost
that
like a shark.
for a man,
They are not
should I
gods,
say
but
monster, the
gods.
size of their chapter master, how could he be stealthy? He just fucking is. Also, it does help that he has those teleporter beacons that he can. Does help that he has those teleporter beacons that he can drop him. And
Teleportation, if you figure it out, is a fucking
Yep.
broken ability.
Yeah.
he's able to drop him and his Terminator squad.
You ever
With him.
have fun and just take like a random shit superpower and try and make it as broken as OP as possible?
That's teleportation.
I mean, there's a
like
lot
the
that are
universe.
incredibly broken if you just like, what if
Super
I apply this
speed.
in silliness?
Yes.
Super speed.
Well, that would be
Ice.
orcs. But what if I applied this in silliness? That would be orcs.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, just like teleportation. What if I made this silly and just like thought of silly things I could do with it?
So,
Broken.
now
What if I
for-
thought about like super smell? Broken.
Now, for when you said that they were also potentially considered progeny of the Night Lords, that's understandable due to the horror that is most of their faces.
They are like grayish. They have sharpened teeth. Some of them actually have gills. Like they're very mutated.
Jet black eyes. Tyberos
eyes.
has
Roll
a
back in the
fair
head when
amount
they
of
kill you.
like skin and muscle, I think, on his face missing. So like you see bone.
Yeah, like
No, not doing the Jaws reference.
no, not right now.
Okay.
It's hard to hear two people talking.
Sorry.
Jackwagon.
Sorry.
But what?
Sorry. ASMR. Sorry.
I'm gonna mute you. But yeah, so he ends up, like we said, going to different planets. Some of them open up with, welcoming hands and are like, "Daddy." Some of them are like, "You are not the father.
Not the mama.
Get fucking Murray here." And some of them take a long
12
time to.
feet tall, and I'm 12 feet tall. I'm pretty sure I'm your father.
Some of them take a long time to find. Some of them take little time to find, based off of like how remote and desolate the planet is. And with that, they all kind of get their own little chapter, which Papa E was like, "Yo, dog, I've been making mini U's. I hope you're cool with that. No, too bad. You're in charge. You're their dad." And they're like, "I just met you." And then, they all start this conquest again, and they slowly start to get corrupted by the space warp. You can thank,
Slanesh.
no, not Slanesh. That's just a chaos god. Dude bro, that everybody hates. The guy that turned Horus.
Abaddon.
Yeah, no, Abaddon is the chapter master
Abaddon.
of Horus's afterwards, the Warhounds. It's
So there's bloodhounds, warhounds.
Lorgar Aurelian.
Lorgar. Everybody hates Lorgar.
Chapter master of the
Primarch. The
The
Primarch.
Primarch of the Word Bearers.
Yeah, there we go. The Primarch of the Wood Bearers. Word.
Yeah,
Bearers.
everybody hates Lorgar Aurelian.
Yeah. Even like his own fucking guys.
Yeah, Lorgar's sons fucking despise him.
I'm assuming he's with the guy who does lies, chaos god wise.
Sinch? I think so.
But he ends up getting Horus corrupted, which is surprising because Horus was like the lead boy, his right-hand man.
It sometimes don't be like that, but it sometimes be like that. It be the best guy sometimes. I mean,
And-
look at Vegeta. He best guy, and he got corrupted.
Thanks, Majin.
Well, I mean,
Bibbidi bobbidi.
Horus was considered the best of the Primarchs. He was considered the best of them. He was the
And then he kind of
he
just
was
like,
the War Master, and
Lore master.
no, not the lore master, the war master.
yeah, he was the War
But
Master.
is there the beast master?
I'm gonna stab you.
His friend's Black Panther?
I'm going to stab you.
Yeah,
me
Robot
your
Chicken
dick.
I'm
callback.
just going to watch.
Give me your dick. Give me your dick
And
so
then
that I can stab
stab
him.
it. My dick? To
Yes, I'm going to
him?
stab him with your dick.
No.
You're in the
Can-
middle.
No.
Yes.
No.
Too late. It already happened.
It's not going to be his
Really
dick.
now?
That'd be way weird.
Without my consent.
Oh. You knew.
I'm disturbed.
No, you're Gerard.
Ooh,
You better get up. Come on, get down with the sickness. Your mother get up. Come on, get down with the sickness.
You know, it
Open
took
up
me too
your
long
heart.
to figure out that his name is a reference is Dick Cheese.
Yeah.
Richard Cheese, Dick Cheese. Duh.
He's just a lounge singer.
Help
Yeah,
me.
he does loud. He does. He also does rape me.
There
rape
is no help.
me. Rape
Rape
me
me
Oh
again.
my god.
I'm not the only one.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
I'm not the only one.
Well, as for some of the
Back on
More
track.
Sing along
fucked
episode.
up Primarchs, we have Mortarion, who currently serves the Lord of Disease and
Oh my god, we should
Pestilence
see
in
if we can
Nurgle.
get him on the podcast.
Mortarion?
No, Richard Cheese.
We're talking about Warhammer.
Yeah.
Calm yourself. And your big fat nipples.
We have
No.
Angron, who we have mentioned multiple times, who currently
Sanguinius.
serves Khorne, the god of blood and skulls,
Skulls for the Skull God.
and blood.
Blood for the Blood God.
god.
Blood for the Blood Throne.
Blood for the Blood. So, how does that
It's
work?
blood for the Blood God and skulls for the Skull Throne. But
I know.
somebody decided to fuck around.
And find out.
And then
He
there's
cares not where they
Slanesh,
come from.
who was fucked into existence by space elves.
One thing with Angron,
Slanesh.
when
Yes.
he
Literally fucked
Jackson
into
mentioned it
existence.
before that most of the Primarchs embodied a portion of the Emperor. He embodied his empathy. And on the planet that Angron landed on, he had something called the Butcher's Nails put into him because he was a gladiator in the arena, and they wanted fierce, ferocious fighters, and that's what they got. He killed anything and everything they put in his way.
So there's more specific involving Angron that we can go into, but let's just say that the Butcher's Nails tore away his empathy.
Yes.
And then
Turned
he
him
slowly
into a fucking animal.
and then he slowly, well, he didn't slowly. He experimented and tried to get them implanted in his world eaters now. And with that, it took one man, one crazy son of a bitch, to stop the destruction of their people because he put up enough of a fight, and he was the first to volunteer for the latest and greatest butcher nail treatment that was going to work because he had better technology.
And that was Karn the Betrayer.
Well, it was just Karn originally.
At that point.
And then he earned the moniker the Betrayer.
Axie Boy?
Yes, he has an axe and a laser pistol.
Gorechild.
He doesn't use
He
a
has
bolter?
Gorechild. What's up?
He doesn't use a bolter?
No.
Huh.
But he
Wait,
he has
can
a
we
special
explain a
plasma
bolter?
pistol. What's up?
Can we explain the bolter? Because bolters are fun.
But he earns the moniker Betrayer. We're going very into World Eaters because I love World Eaters. But he earns
I
the
like
moniker.
orcs.
He earns the moniker World Eater, the Betrayer, because they're going through the one of the Horus Heresy attempts, one of the Crusades, and they're on an ice planet. It's able to freeze everybody to death if they don't seek shelter at nightfall. And they stop the fighting temporarily, so this way they can get shelter and not all fucking die in the middle of the night because they all freeze to death. And he says, why did you stop fighting? Because we'll all die. Why did
But
you
fighting
stop
makes you
fighting?
warm.
Because we'll all die. I'll fucking kill you. And then he proceeds to kill everyone on the planet
Everyone?
by himself. And he just,
Goes on a bloody,
he flames
murderous
everybody.
rampage.
He flames everybody.
Flame, 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 flame.
If there's one person that
There's a few,
Khorne, his
there's a couple Space Marines that can take out Primarchs. Karn might be one of them.
because if there's one person in the entire universe that Khorne genuinely likes, it's Karn.
Well, him
like corn.
and who's your favorite orc? Well, actually, it might not be your favorite orc, but
Tuska Demon Killer.
say it again without all the fucking
Sure.
build up.
Tuska Demon Killer.
Yeah, and what does he do?
He kills the daemons.
Yeah, so Korn keeps reviving him in the warp
Yep.
On a
because
specific,
He just
on a-
fights too much.
he just loves fighting and loves killing demons, and Korn's just like,
Well,
this is
I
entertaining
think-
as shit.
Yeah, I think that's also
fucking
because like
love
Tuska, they were fighting originally, and Tuska followed them into the warp, and he put up such a good fight that Korn was just like,
No,
This is entertaining. Come back.
By the way, my
Yeah,
favorite
he
orc
just,
is
like,
the one who
every
went back
day.
in time,
And I
killed
think they-
himself, and got 2 of his special guns because he killed himself.
and I think they remember every fight, so Tuska's pretty much just coming back every single time, like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, no, true fact. That's an actual thing that happened with an orc.
Yeah, orcs are silly,
Orcs are I fucking.
but
Oh,
they're so great.
enough about
Orcs.
the Astartes and whether or not they're good guys or loyalist. But let's get on to some other races. So there's obviously, the
Space
humans, which
Is there
they end
dwarves?
up colonizing and they end up doing all sorts of silliness. There's a couple variants of them. There's Admex, which basically prayed to the machine god, and
The only ones allowed to do.
they
not
fuck
Emperor
toasters. They fuck toasters.
Okay, so basically everybody's supposed to pray to the God Emperor except for these guys.
They're
get a
Mars. They're Martians.
They get a special permit not to.
they pray to something called
The toaster.
Messiah,
They fuck the
machines
toaster.
demons.
pretty much.
And
we have the Eldar, the Dark
Space
Eldar,
elves.
yeah, space elves.
the Drukhari,
The Dark Eldar are just space elves that fucked and partied so much they became evil.
they
And they literally made a god
birthed,
out
yeah,
of
they
it.
birthed a chaos god.
They fucked and partied a god into a chaos god into
Oh yeah,
existence.
yeah. They were the 1980s.
Get the loots.
Get the lube.
No, he said get the lewds, like
know.
quaaludes.
I know.
Call back
Get
to
both.
psychedelics.
Call back.
Then
Callback counter.
Then there's Tau,
Counter
which are
counter?
these blue fish pussy people.
Then there are the Necrons.
They're very. So can we go into a little bit
go
of what
a
they're
little bit of
what they
that.
embody?
The Tau?
So no, just Jenner. Because we talked about how the Admech are toasters and they love machines and
Okay.
they're very like advanced civilization, advanced machines. The Eldar, they're kind of like a mix of like close combat and bolters. They don't have too many psychic powers.
They use bolters?
Yeah, I mean they have guns. It's not specifically bolters, but they have guns.
Okay.
There's, and that's whether it's the Dark Eldar or the regular Eldar. It's just a matter of if you're edgy or not. And
There's the
they
weeb
have
race.
what's up?
The weeb race. The ones that have mechs. They're weebs.
Yeah. So there's just these things called Titans, which are they're fucking Transformers, but better.
Robots in disguise.
Sorry, they're Gundams.
Closer to
effectively.
mech warrior.
Yeah, they're Gundams, as opposed to Transformers, and they just get piloted. And they're cool. You can have them all sorts of different ways.
There's also giant coffins that have guns that people.
Those are called dreadnoughts.
That's chaos stuff. We'll get into chaos stuff.
We're talking, if you're talking dreadnoughts, they're not just chaos related because the current most famous dreadnought in the Imperium of Man would be of the Space Wolves, Bjorn the Fell-Handed.
But yeah. So we got Astartes, humans, Admex, Tau are these highly advanced civilization. They like to use their brains a lot. They prefer long combat traditionally. However, there's a couple tangential chapters that end up getting super close combat. I don't remember his name. I'm going to get fucking reamed for it in the comments by a couple people. All like one person that comments. But I do have a few friends that are super involved in the lore. He's just kind of involved. You're back up.
No. I'm okay with that.
And some of them are, like diehard. I am a Tau guy. I know everything about Tau. Some of them are diehard Primarchs. Everybody has their own favorite flavor. It's just such a huge place.
Then we
go to Necrons. They're basically Terminators. Like 100%, they are Egyptian Terminators. They keep coming back. They're all part of one giant soul, and their soul just keeps getting rebuilt in new bodies. They're just Terminators.
And I have to give always the honorable mention to my favorite troll, Trazen the Infinite. the king of, oh hey, I want that.
Tyranids.
Fuck you and everything about you. I'm gonna take it.
Then we have Tyranids. The Tyranids are a hive mind. They're very much these alien xenomorph style creatures. They just kind of devour and consume, and they just exist to repopulate and take over that way. They're space worms.
They're actually shown to be smart enough to know the difference between
Yeah, they are a hive mind.
organic material and organic material, and the materials that they can consume and assimilate to their hive
Yeah,
and stuff
no
they
shit. Something
can't.
that's made to eat knows what it's supposed to eat and what it's not supposed
Yeah,
to eat.
but not even just that. They're also getting smart enough to be able to consume shit they weren't able to consume before. And the Tyranids are known by the Necrons and most other races, mostly the Necrons, as hey, sooner or later we're all going to need to stop fighting each other and take care of that, because that's going to be a real big problem.
Yeah, so the Tyranids are kind of like the sleeper, real villain, because they just kind of keep consuming and adapting. Think
Doomsday.
for MTG. Think Slivers. Think for
Flood.
yeah. Think the
Halo
Flood from
Flood.
Halo. Think Xenomorphs
normies would get.
from Aliens. Think the symbiotes.
You ever played you ever see the
Think-
crazy xenomorphs from the deep lore video games and shit?
And also
Yeah.
some of the ones in the comics are pretty crazy for the xenomorphs too. But also think literally
Think
Doomsday.
Zergs.
Doomsday too. They're not
Zerg Rush.
Think
they're
Zergs.
not invincible, but every time
StarCraft?
they die,
Yes.
yes, Zergs.
Korea's favorite game. Korea loves StarCraft.
But yeah, think Zergs from StarCraft. They're just consume, repopulate, consume, repopulate, consume, repopulate with a hive mind. So
the
all of the
Irish?
collective knowledge, yes, the Irish. So all of the collective knowledge just gets fed back into the hive mind. Yes. Look, as long as there's a potato, they can repopulate. It's fine. And then there's orcs, which again my brother loves.
Orcs.
They-
Orc boy, explain orcs.
Okay, so orcs are.
He's so excited about this.
I fucking love orcs. They're
Yes,
so
we know. Talk.
ridiculous. Okay, so orcs were invented to fight the Necrons by psychic space frogs, and they started off as giant fungus ogre people that were really smart and also powerful psychics that can make whatever they believe exist. And then they eventually devolved into just orcs, which are fungus people who just want to fight and do nothing else but fight. But they're all also low-key psychics too, so this allows them to have a hive mind psychic thing where whatever they believe works.
So long as there is enough belief, it'll work.
So-
not just yeah, it'll work, but there has to be enough belief. If they paint something a certain color, it
It'll
changes
just
the
add-
attributes.
Yeah, they believe that blue is lucky, so anything painted blue
believe-
will have extra luck. That's why the Ultramarines will always kind of win and be the heroes because they're blue.
And if they paint anything red, that
It goes
means
faster.
yes,
Which
it
is a
goes
reference to Gundam.
Purple,
Yep.
Char is red, and Char
red
stuff
comet.
goes 3 fat. Yes.
purple is camo.
Yes.
Purple is stealthy.
Because
Yep.
you never seen a purple orc. have
Gold
ya?
is rich.
Gold is rich. Yellow
because
is
teeth is their currency, and their teeth are yellow colored.
Yep. To compound on what he said earlier,
Green is,
for the early orcs, they were called Krorks,
Yep, Quarks.
and they were
And they had gods too.
yeah,
Gork
they were
and Mork.
Gork and Mork.
Gork and Mork, yeah. Who were
now the
technically one
Quarks-
thing, but then they split into two.
Yep.
And in theory, if they ever actually like got involved and stopped fighting each other,
Because they're constantly fighting.
they're the most powerful beings.
Because they can manipulate reality.
Period.
They can completely change reality, like
So-
warp reality.
He talked about the power that the orcs get when they're together. There was
No, he didn't.
he mentioned it. He mentioned it.
And then
he
you
didn't
guys
talk
kind
about
of
it.
expounded on it with the color thing.
I'll expand on it a little bit. So that is called the Wog.
Ugh.
It is the collective power of the belief of orcs when they, like Jackson said, and like I think you said too, when they all believe in one thing, or there's enough of them all together, they get whipped up into this psychic frenzy.
Think Green Lantern's might. Willpower.
Yeah.
Like their
There's
guns
also-
are
they
just
have, like,
cobbled together
Brain
junk.
Boys. They've got their own version of psychers called Brain Boys. But if,
They have hobbled together fucking things
like
that shouldn't fly, shouldn't drive.
Their technology is
They-
literally hobbled together junk that
Yeah.
shouldn't technically
They
work.
slap
But
together a
because
bunch
they
of
think
stuff.
it's supposed to work, it works.
Yep, they slap together a bunch of stuff, say it's a gun, and then all of a sudden it's shooting bullets.
Like they don't even have windshields on their spaceships because they just think.
No,
that
they
it'll
have
be-
windshields on their spaceships. They
No,
open
they
up
don't.
the-
That's
they-
how the daemons get in for
well,
fightings.
well, no, they have no shields. That's how the daemons get in for fightings. They have the windows open, and they'll hang out the windows just like it's a car.
Yeah, no, these guys are fucking great.
But yeah,
They, even have their own little
They have-
race too called the Squigs.
the Squigs. They have the
That's
beasts.
their hair too. They're all naturally bald, but
They're-
the Squigs bite down on them
Yep.
and become their hair, mohawks or beards.
There was a point in 40K history that the orcs had become enough of a problem, had gotten together because of one orc called the Beast.
Yep.
It is not, I think, I'm not actually 100% sure, so don't quote me if he is
Too late.
confirmed dead or not.
So it's
But-
believed that he's dead, and
Yes.
it's heavily implied.
They're also low key help keep the Emperor alive too,
Yeah,
because one they want the constant war, so they think that the Emperor's still alive, so he kind of keeps him alive.
There was
Well, that
there
and
was
the
a point in
10,000
time
psychers.
where there was a point in time where a small group of people in the Imperium were like, "Hey, if we got enough orcs together and told them that the God Emperor was alive, do you think if they all believed it that it would actually work?"
Yeah.
They kind of shot that idea down though. So
Imperium being human boys.
yeah, so because their whole religion is
Praise the
based
God
on
Emperor.
this wild fanaticism and xenophobia.
Are we talking about
I'm sorry,
you
I'm
mean
talking
MAGA?
about the Imperium. I'm just like bringing how like
so
the
so
Imperium is
the God Emperor never wanted to be a god or like the Emperor of mankind. He just kind of wanted to like
be a guy.
be a overpowered beast of a man.
It don't always be like that.
And they were like, "Yo, look at him! He's so fucking powerful. He's never gonna die. He's our god. Ah!
Praise him.
Praise Allah."
That's also why Lorgar fell to chaos.
Yeah.
Because Daddy yelled at him, and I'm pretty sure beat his ass once, because he kept being like, "Hey, you need to stop fucking praising me, and
Yeah.
you need to stop spreading it through your chapter, and you need to stop spreading it through your planet."
Praise the sun.
He came to Lorgar's planet one day, saw all of these effigies of him, saw all of this shit dedicated to him, and just went, no. Destroyed it all.
Yeah.
And Lorgar went, right, fuck you.
I'm turning chaos.
Yep.
And the chaos guys. So there's a few different rankings. There's lesser demons. There's possessed. There's greater possessed. There's demons. There's demon princes. There's demon lords.
Archdemons.
Archdemons.
And then-
There's the chaos demon gods, which, as mentioned, there's Korn, there's Nurgle, there's Slanesh, and there's Zench. Slanesh is the party lord. So I'm not talking about the fifth one that got reintroduced. Got introduced, kind of.
Malice?
That one's basically the god of death.
Yeah.
And that's the one that the elves were actually trying to summon, not create stench, but they were actually trying to summon the god of death, so this way they can kill the chaos gods and get rid of everything else. But they ended up producing stench, which is the god of Slanesh, sorry, which is the god of parties and nipples.
Parties, nipples, sex,
Yeah,
and drugs.
sex, drugs, rock and roll. And then there's Zench, which is the god of lies and god of fibs and
Plots.
fucking telling tales and spitting lies. Then there's Nurgle, the god of pestilence, the god of famine, the god of disease, and then there's Khorne, the god of battle, the god of war, the god of blood, skulls, death.
Also, technically, the god of life.
Yeah,
It's kind of funny how that one works.
yeah.
Because in death and pestilence also breeds life.
Yeah, so if you are part of it, it's very hard to, in terms of core, he has a champion which he always revives, and a couple other ones that he revives, but that's typically Karn. There's Nurgle, and he just kind of like keeps them alive through OP bullshit.
Gifts.
Yeah.
And the gifts.
You can kill them, it's just harder to kill them.
Yes, because they can take much more grievous injuries and still be kept alive due to the
Oh, there's the demons that are like
abomination
super
they've
friendly, but
essentially
they
become.
accidentally kill everything because they're just giant. The Nurgle ones.
You're talking about the great unclean ones.
Yeah, they're
think.
actually supposed to be like nice.
So the
but-
Great Unclean One is actually, on the tabletop, supposed to be Nurgle itself.
It's supposed to be an embodiment of Nurgle.
But
Because
yeah,
I know that
But-
there's also certain great unclean ones that are named.
But there's,
if you have a name, you're kind of invincible.
more or less. I mean,
Yes and no.
it depends on how much the writers like you that week.
And also what happens in the tabletop.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there's
Because didn't old Baelai just get recently killed?
not entirely confirmed, but I actually wanted to bring that up because the new artwork for Angron has him fighting greenskins.
Yeah. So, some stuff happens, and it's loosely confirmed that he ends up taking out some orc boys.
There's probably also going to be the potentiality that old Gazgul Thraka is going to go real hard after him.
Yeah.
He's going to fucking murder Angron.
Allegedly.
Yeah,
Attempt to.
allegedly. But
That said, Angron doesn't have any super special gifts from Khorne. He's just a demon prince because he was a Primarch. Mm-hmm. Angron, I love him. I love the World Eaters. I love the just blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne, fucking melee. Fuck it, man. We just want to see shit die.
but out of
But Angron, he has, in terms of Primarchs, a rather disappointing and a rather sad backstory.
I was about to also mention too, out of all the Primarchs that fell to chaos, he really got the short fucking end of the stick.
His whole planet was...
Honestly, Mortarian's in an even better position than he is.
Well, yeah, but
And Mortarian's put up more than a fight. He almost killed Raboot Gilliman. The only reason Raboot Gilliman
Robert.
lived was because the Emperor
Robert.
took over his body.
Robert Gilman.
Roboot. Robot Booty, Guilty Man.
Roberto.
That's only one of the names I've seen. There's so many.
Hey, Red. It's me, Roberto.
There's so many stupid
We actually
nicknames
just
for him.
we just
It's
watched that
just so
episode last
bad.
night. Oh, and the late Philip J. Fry just watched that one last night too.
Morty.
Sorry, I'm having my fiance watch Futurama for the first time.
But we should do a Futurama episode. But
You should. Right in the feels.
do we miss anybody?
We've
Any of the races?
We could talk about.
Imgard, Admech.
Is there dwarves?
No,
There's no dwarves.
no.
So there's elves,
Ogren.
vampires, werewolves,
So there's no like
mummies.
there's no dwarfs. Not like, their own race like there are elves. But there's like, attributed ones.
Yeah.
Like
Loosely.
marines that are kind of.
No, not Marines.
Okay.
You think Space Marines are going to be small? You're fucking nuts.
Mutations.
That would be interesting. A dwarf version of Space Marines for.
Well, I mean, dude, there's also things called Ogrens. You ever seen an Ogren?
There's a lot of things I don't know.
Oh, yeah, well. You know what an Ogren is, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Big, giant, hulking, very dumb human.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in the new
France.
Darktide game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's demons.
They're part of Imgard.
Yes. Well,
They are part of Imgard. A buddy of mine plays. I don't know if I'm.
no.
Someone I know
you're
plays
right,
in
you're
Guard.
Right. No, yeah, because they have Ogren squads.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's not like they're their own thing. They're just a mutated human.
Yeah.
They're kind of like.
They're
There's a
essentially
Zoat.
they have like puppy dog personalities. They're very friendly and they're very loyal. So like, you fuck with a person they're loyal to, you're gonna have a very, very hard time.
Yeah. And. So that's more or less like a broad overview of a lot of the races. Obviously, there's some specifics like space sharks. Woo! The vampire ones, Sanguinius.
Well, those are chapters, not races.
Yeah, that's
The
what I'm saying.
Blood
Like, there's some
Angels.
specifics which would be into Astartes specifics, Imperial Guard specifics,
I mean, if we-
Admex, Tau.
Yeah, if we start getting into Astartes
Different-
specifics, we're gonna have to start talking about the different variations between the gene seeds. They're like,
All sorts of
So
different
there's
shit.
only so many. There can only be so many Space Marines because there's going to be so many gene seeds, right?
No.
there's 20 gene seeds, 2 that we don't obviously know about. With
All of which
the-
came from the God Emperor.
Mhm. All don't also with the Primaris, some of the Primaris with their black carapace, their gene
Primaris-
seeds are a mix. Some of them are a mix of like 2 or 3 different Primarchs. Some of them are a mix of even more.
So that said, that's why I'm saying like the space sharks. It's thought to be a combination of these. They're not Primaris. They're still original Astartes. However,
they're just fucking.
they're
huge.
so mutated
Yep.
because there was, I think it was the 7th division, the 7th
Founding.
lineage. That one got heavily corrupted and heavily mutated by the warp, and a lot of those chapters ended up falling into chaos. I think it's the 7th. It might be the 8th, but as you continue to clone and repopulate, as more and more chaos gets involved and more warp spaghetti gets involved, it ends up mutating them.
Warp spaghetti.
Yeah, it ends
Warp
up mutating it a little bit more and more. And sometimes they like to all right, well, let's take the best attributes of this, the best attributes of this. The Primaris is just a more upgraded Astartes baseline. They're bigger. They're somewhere in between a standard Astarte and a Primarch.
Upgrade with
and
2
originally
years.
the Primaris were looked upon with like some scorn, some disdain.
Robert
because
Gilliman's, yeah.
they weren't like looked at positively. It's like, well, we've been fighting all these years. You're just fresh born. What do you know about war? What do you know about any of this?
War.
And
What
but
is it
then
good
like
for?
then the Primaris started fighting, and they were just like,
Oh,
Oh.
you guys are actually useful.
yeah, they were just like, oh, okay. Some
They
of us
might
are gonna
not-
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, they might not have the same battle lineage, but they're still around.
yeah.
That said, Space Marines, most of them only last for a couple of 100 years, maybe 1,000 or so. Generic, standard Space Marines.
I think Dante would beg to differ.
Generic standard Space Marines.
If you have a name, you last
pretty much-
longer.
Yeah.
So there's a few from the original Firstborns, like Karn, Dante, who end up 2 of the biggest names in terms of just generic Space Marines from the Firstborn. Dante, because he takes over Sanguinius' spot as leading the chapter, and Karn, because, like I said, he is fuck around and find out on a stick.
That's also like
But they end up actually living to 10,000 years, which is incredibly long, and they're still alive.
And that's-
Dante was told in a
Imagine
prophecy
trying to do the happy
that
birthday song for that one.
what?
10,000 years, man, trying to do the happy birthday song. Or are you 10,001?
Slap him. Dante was like prophesized to stick around until Sanguinius gets revived, and Karn just has Korn on his side, being like, "And revive."
oh, you're dead? No, you're not.
That said, there's a couple others which I'm not super familiar with all of the chapters because I like my boys.
Yeah.
Everybody,
So,
like I said, likes their boys.
I like the boys, the best boys.
Like I mentioned him earlier. He's not obviously in his original body. He is in the body of a dreadnought, but Bjorn the Fell-Handed is also 10,000 standard years old.
Yeah.
There's some dreadnoughts that are maybe
Dreadnoughts are a
100,
little different than standard.
200.
Dreadnoughts are a little different than standard Space Marines.
Yes, a dreadnought is
They are literally in something meant to keep them alive.
Yes. A dreadnought is an injured space marine that was so grievously injured in battle but still alive that they are still willing to serve their emperor. They are
So
entombed
Or-
in iron sarcophagus
Or chaos.
or chaos. But
That's how you get Hellbrutes.
but that's the difference. For chaos, being in a dreadnought armor and turning into a Hellbrute is
Agonizing.
Yes, is agony, is leaving you wishing you were dead. It is torture and something you don't want. If there is a fate, if
You don't want
can
none of
avoid
this.
being turned into a Hellbrute, most Space Marines would probably take that route because they don't want that.
You don't want none of this.
But for like a regular dreadnought, that's an honor for Space Marines. There are some dreadnoughts like Bjorn that are 10,000 years old, and they have to go through periodic rests where they get woken up. Say it could be every couple of hundred years, every 1,000 years, depending. But it's to
They enter the
preserve-
Odin sleep.
Yes, it's to preserve their sanity, to keep them sharp, to really like keep the gears.
As it
oiled
turns
for
out,
them.
if you're consistently almost dying and only staying alive on life support, it'll fuck you up.
And there are some dreadnoughts that have, yes, gone batshit fucking crazy.
mean, there's also
and I think
the-
those get put into the death companies.
I mean, there's the thing the Sisters of Battle do.
Yeah, that's one that we didn't talk about. Not a race. They're humans that are like battle nuns.
And if they fuck up, they strap themselves naked to basically a walking tank.
Called
Yep.
Penitent engines.
And they either kill enough things that they are forgiven or just, get
Die.
killed. Yeah.
Yep,
But-
they are stripped. The penitent engines are essentially stripped down dreadnought chassis, and you are just
You're
Out,
naked.
tits out,
there.
killing things.
And it is told that your faith will be your greatest weapon and your greatest defense.
But yeah, they are battle nuns. Like that's it. They're battle nuns.
Nuns with guns.
Call them the Sisters of Battle, but their order is also known as the Adeptus Sororitas.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. That makes sense because...
There's giant sorority, yes.
Yeah. Ah. It's almost like they just kind of... The names are all on the fucking nose.
Pretty fucking much.
But yeah, this is like, again, very broad overview, very like minor dipping your toe in the water.
And we've been going for how long just dipping the toes?
Just talking about different races, a little distinguishing variants between chapters, being able to talk about the different gods and what different things represent.
So, what's
God,
your
if we
favorite
started
weapon?
getting into chapters, we'd be here for a whole nother episode.
That's why I said we're probably going to end up having to make like a 50-part fucking
Wait,
thing of this.
So what's your
Just
favorite
going over
weapon?
the lore.
Yeah.
We can go from year, 3,000 to 3,000 to from 30,000 to
You could do, like,
31,000.
a whole almost history of 4chan length-esque thing
I
on this.
mean,
History of Christian?
the God Emperor
Yes.
never. If we're gonna go at
At
any
the
point
mic.
there, if we're gonna go
Ooh,
at
we
any
should
point
get
there,
him on
he
the
didn't
podcast.
want to lead. He didn't want to be the ruler, like you said.
No, he
But-
never wanted to be a god. He had no issue leading.
Yes,
he had no
because
issue
throughout different
ruling. He
periods-
just didn't
throughout
want to be a
different
god.
periods with his life and with his perpetuality, he had done that at times. There were times where humanity needed a leader of his caliber, and he just went, fuck it, took the reins.
Now, mind you, we haven't even talked about how this whole shit got started. Games Workshop, or Age of Sigmar, or any of the other games that they've done, because there's variant games of Warhammer.
We also haven't talked about
In
Malcolm
a-
the
in a-
Sigilite.
Oh, there's a whole novel series. This is
Yeah. In addition to, there's other games in addition to just
one
Warhammer
of which is
Age
written
of
by an
Sigmar.
author I like.
Like there's Blood Bowl, which is
The
just
Sanguinius
this,
stuff.
which is meant as like this little football thing. There's blitz teams. There's this whole thing spawned a huge
There's the,
lineup
art-
of just follow throughs.
The role-playing game Rogue Traders.
Yeah. Star Wars has a clone. There's one. Yeah.
Does Star Wars have a 40k clone?
Yeah, X Fighters.
Huh.
Star Wars X Fighters.
Okay.
It's very much just Warhammer, but space Star Wars. There's one about World War II. There's all sorts of shit. Yeah. Wow. I mean, if you really want to think about it, Risk was an OG one.
Yeah.
Did Games Workshop do Risk?
Risk and Stratego. Games
Anybody want to
Workshop.
play Stratego?
Games Workshop came out. From what I remember from the first time I looked this up, Lost Episodes. Check us out.
Yes, find the lost episode.
It
It's buried somewhere in Nevada.
was 1979 they formed this company, and they started
Do
out
you know what that's a reference to?
and they started out distributing D&D magazines, and then they got the exclusive rights to distribute D&D in Europe, and then they ended up
Europeans.
coming along with something called White Dwarf, which was a magazine in order to help
It's a
spread this.
racist dwarf
It was 3 guys initially.
in a shed.
If he hits you with one of these chairs, I'm going to laugh myself into a coma.
You're going to duck.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, he's
I'm
gonna
definitely
dodge.
gonna duck, but
Dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge.
You're gonna watch me dive over the fucking table.
You hit any of my equipment, you're getting a chair thrown at you.
Of course. Maybe under the table would be a better idea.
A little bit better.
So, Games Workshop starts off with 3 guys, and one of them had a background with toy making. He was doing chess, a lot of wood games, things like that, and he wanted to lean heavily on that. But the other 2 were like, no, we really want to start delving into this RPG thing. D&D's being good to us. Let's start making our own shit like that. And that's what ended up coming out with White Dwarf. It ended up being their own fantasy role-playing game. And then they ended up making models for D&D. And the models for D&D turned into models for 40K in this whole giant world. And I think it was 89 was the first 40K official, like the first Warhammer, and then it turned into Warhammer 40K. And then there was Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And now there's Warhammer 30K, which is during the Horus Heresy, the whole like divide between the Chaos and Loyalist. And you get to see some OG armor, which is really cool for a lot of them. Like, the initial armor for the World Eaters, instead of being red and gold, is actually white and blue. And it's theorized by a lot of really, 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 really big lore heads that they're only red. Like, they're only red and gold because of all the blood. They just never cleaned it up for the World Eaters.
How would that make it gold?
They ended up, painting around it. It still had gold trim, I think. I don't know.
That would make sense.
But that's why it ended up being from white and blue into red and gold.
Also, now you're talking, but you're also talking like.
But shouldn't it be
with
brown
the-
because blood dries brown?
You would think, but it's fresh all the time.
So now,
Blood rain.
but you're also saying like,
Chocolate rain?
so you get to see like the Corvus pattern helmets, all the old Mark.
Yeah, so you
III
get to
shit,
see the
Mark IV
original.
shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's 30K. You get to see all the original, and there's actually a lot of people that do 40K in the original paint setup too, and a lot of the original work like that, like the
'Cause some of
painting of the figures. Painting of the figures alone, you can spend thousands of hours. I mean, you can just scroll down YouTube, shout out, and just look at the intricacies of
Not
people doing non-stop painting. And it's, what do I do for 10 hours? How much can I do? How much can I get away with in an hour? How much can I get away with in 10 hours? How good would this turn out in 20 hours? And it's one fucking model. Because it's just such an intricate piece, which we haven't even spoken about the actual playing of the game. But you build your army, and then you paint your army, and then you play your army. And they're all different points. They're all different currency, however you want to set it up. If you want to do like point system or CP, and
We don't want to do CP.
no. And it just boils down into just different ways that can be played with the game. You can do 500-point armies, 1,000-point armies, 2,000-point armies, Armageddon. You can do anything and everything with this. It is probably one of
Exterminatus.
the most complicated in terms of just strategy games, period. Chess is up there just because of how many different ways to go about it.
Go.
But the way that you deploy all your units, the way that you want to use different attacks, if you want to, fucking tackle, if you want to, all sorts of dumb shit. It just is in there. And it's all based off of a map, a tangential map that you can play. You can, stack your pieces on debris. So this way they have a line of sight, whereas the other guys don't. It's nuts. This is probably, like I said, one of the most intricate and complicated games out there.
Fun fact: Go is so complicated a strategic game that we only just made a computer program that can barely beat a human in Go.
Go being a
It's
Chinese or
it's-
Japanese?
Chinese, Asian, I think it's from both, but yeah, you get like the little white and black pebbles, and you have
Yeah.
to. But yeah, no, that game is actually kind of so like involved to play that we only just now made a computer program that can only barely win against people.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I went all over that, and that's what you fucking took from this.
Fun fact: I just like having fun facts. I haven't done one yet, so figured I'd throw that there.
Like MTG, the most complicated card game. Tabletop, there's a lot of fucking complicated ones. If we want to go with simple and do like chess, Go, Mojang,
D&D is kind of simple for a tabletop.
Well, D&D is mostly role playing based.
it is pure role playing and luck.
Yeah, there's
Like it's tell a story, interact with said story.
Yeah, it's some
With
butt cheeks
numbers.
rolls.
Whereas
Some butt cheeks rolls
There's a
last
little
night.
bit of strategy there, but that's about it. Like realistically, if you have high
Warhammers.
enough charisma, you can just fuck your way out of anything.
Pretty much.
you
Warhammer.
can
Bards
make
are
it
OP.
real
Warhammer though is like you need
Warhammer-
strategy.
yeah,
you need
Warhammer
real-time
is-
strategy. You need to plan. You need to like
Get a
okay, my
ruler.
my enemy is playing orcs.
Works.
I'm playing this.
Works.
I'm not that good against orcs, but I got to make it work. Let's go.
Works.
Yeah. And the whole thing about when you play orcs, because he keeps fucking mentioning it, when you play them, is you just get a dice of d6. A dice of d6. You just get a giant bag of d6, and you roll for luck. That's it. Like, sure, there's some actual like things that you have to do, but they get so many rolls, they get so many shots, and then it's either pass or fail effectively with them, and you just count up the ones that you hit. But you get like 80 fucking dice compared to my like 10 dice. It's just so like daka 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 daka.
Needs more DACA.
Oh,
Needs-
Which daka is
more
a term for
DACA.
daka is a term for like rapid fire shooting.
Daka 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 daka. Vegeta likes to say it.
But where the fuck were we?
We
Fucking
were
somewhere.
explaining
We
what your
started-
favorite weapon
We
is.
started stumbling and we couldn't
What's
get
your
back
favorite
up.
weapon?
What?
What's your favorite weapon?
He's
Bolter,
asking you a weapon.
Chainsword, power gauntlet.
There's a lot. Custodies have spears.
Pointy sticks,
You can go tank.
dreadnought,
You can- yeah, like
I
titan,
mean, if we're talking weapon,
stock
would
of guns.
would a Titan count as a weapon?
Technically, yes.
So, yes.
fun fact. There is a Titan. I'm pretty sure it's a Titan. It might be a tank from Imperial Guard, but there's a Titan. I'm 96% sure of that. That
Are you talking about? You might be talking about the tank that its machine spirit came alive and it just started fucking shit up, and then I think it was.
I was going to refer to the tabletop game.
Oh.
And how there is now a standard size table. If you play, yes, and if you place the tank or Titan, I don't remember exactly what. It's basically an artillery cannon.
Mm-hmm.
In one corner,
Mm-hmm.
its max range goes to a different table. Like the table maxes out at, let's use an arbitrary number, 150 inches diagonally. So you get the most amount, right? Because that's how you get the most amount. And it's, again, arbitrary amount diagonally is like 200. So you're going like above and beyond.
Sneaky sis.
Yeah. So you can just like
Because some
bloop,
of those
and
Titans
hit that motherfucker all the way over there.
Because some of those
No,
Titans have
not this
some
table.
very
That table,
long range weapons.
or it could be a tank. Like I said, I don't
yeah,
remember.
or it could be a tank.
All I know is that it's artillery and it doesn't move.
No, Titans move.
No,
That's
I
part
mean
of
like it moves at the speed of a snail.
Okay, but yeah, no.
You
Titans,
can try and move it, but no luck.
You don't stop a Titan.
So your
the only
favorite
thing that
weapon
stops
is
a
a Titan.
Titan is another Titan.
Okay. What's your favorite weapon?
So it's not really a weapon. I really like Helldrakes. They're cool. They're these like, yeah. They're chaos, hence the hell.
Duh.
Professor Chaos.
And if you've ever seen one or painted one, because I've painted one, they're silly little intricate things, and they look like these dragon creatures that I'm going to show him.
Are they like mech dragons?
Not really. So they started off being, I think it's an Eldari base that gets corrupted. They end up, fusing, because this is how corruption works, with a pilot and
No, that
turning
was human.
into this, which you
No,
can't
that's
see on
human.
here.
There's a human, I think, in that. And unfortunately for the
The human, they're now dead.
there's been some instances where they're still in the head, screaming and alive.
Yeah.
So like,
But
the humans
they're
aren't
cool as
necessarily
shit.
yeah. The humans aren't
And
necessarily
they can do
dead. They're fused just in the skull of the Helldrake.
And they have claws, they have little lashers, and they have they have a hell breath, which is guaranteed an auto hit. It's just a matter of if they actually get to wound. But they're just cool little fucks, man. And again, like I said, you learn it if you paint it. Like sometimes You just like a thing because it's cool. There's an unwritten rule.
The rule of cool.
Yeah. There's actually a couple unwritten rules that are actually almost written, if I remember right. Like the gray horde. You have to paint your army. You have to paint it. You can paint it gray if it goes with the actual theme, but it's painted gray, not just gray bits because you didn't fucking paint like a jackass. And you actually lose points and lose an advantage, gain a disadvantage from the start because you didn't paint your army. Usually, if you just built your army, people will give you a leeway for a game or two because,
But
you
then
know,
you
it
need
takes
to, like-
forever to paint an army,
Yeah.
especially if you want to do it in detail. But with that, the rule of cool is most people, so long as you can, like, justify it and explain it as, like, this is just cool as shit, we'll be like, all right, fuck it, it works. You know? Like, for most part, the Helldrake is black and gold for a color scheme. I went with red and gold because World Eater colors. Now, they're not traditionally that, but it looks cool, and that's World Eater, you know?
If
They
it
eat the
works, if it
worlds.
works for the chapter, why not?
It's cool. I had picked up some metal paint, some mirror paint from a artist that doesn't sponsor us, so I'm not going to say it.
Not sponsored.
And
Ah, there it is.
that shit, yeah, not sponsored. And that shit was a fucking mirror. That was awesome. And I used it on a couple weapons because it's cool. And then I picked up, again, not sponsored, so I'm not going to say it, but some really, 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 really dark black, almost like the second blackest black that you can buy. Again, not sponsored, but not quite.
Not
It
sponsored.
might have been the first. It might have been the third. Who knows? All I know is it was really fucking black. And I did that on a different Helldrake, on the little in between for the wings, and golded that up. Because it took away that 3D effect. And it just... I don't know if you've ever seen an incredibly black thing that just absorbs like 99% of the light, but turns out shit just vanishes.
Yeah.
Like
just
it's a
gone.
cutout at that point.
Yep.
And if you put it on something like that, where there's a lot of intricate details and things like that, it's just like, what the fuck? And then you highlight it with like gold and silver for the trim. Ugh.
Silver and gold.
Primo.
Silver and gold.
Where the fuck were we? Talking about weapons. What's your fucking favorite weapon?
I'm a simple man. I like the chain sword.
Chainswords are cool. They're the World Eater's preferred weapon.
I thought it was a chain axe.
That too.
Do you prefer the chain axe? Or
They just want chain weapons. I like the chain axe because Gorechild, Carnes.
I think you can get 3D printed cosplay replicas on 8C of that.
Probably.
Could get a 3D printed cosplay replica of a chainsword.
You can get a 3D replica printed almost anything.
Yes.
Helmets.
You just have to be able to piece them together afterwards.
Well, except some of those helmets, when they come complete, are like $400.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've looked.
There's a guy selling an unpainted Gara one for about $1.75 on eBay.
Oh, that's another thing.
Not sponsored.
From Games Workshop, not sponsored. They
3D printed shit is a no-go.
Yeah. You have to have at least 60% base model in order to be able to play it. Now, if you have the base model or they don't make the model anymore, like it's a retired model, people will usually let it slide. But sometimes it's just like,
Does that mean no? If you get like
so if I wanted to make a Space Sharks,
ooh,
ooh, they have the Red Tyrant and Tavares. They have him, the Chapter Master. He is only from from Forge World, which is their even more elite products, and that shit.
It's fucking money.
Yeah, it's like an $80 model.
So
Yep.
I've seen you can get
but
like custom pauldron
yeah,
bits
yeah,
and
yeah.
heads
So
and stuff. Now,
so
is that-
people usually have no issue with, if you want to like fancy up your baseline model, no one cares if you want to fancy it up.
okay,
but
so
you have
that's
to
allowed.
Yeah. Again, you have to like make sure that it's still with some good shit, still with some
Games
good amount of
Workshop.
original shit.
It's funny because they had like little kits. I was scrolling through Facebook. They had a little kit, not sponsored.
Definitely
And,
not sponsored.
Yeah.
Jackson wants
It
to
was
fight
like
him.
a kit for
I'll fight
Space
anybody.
Marines that was Gundam kits, like
Yeah.
a head or
So-
some
Oh, yeah,
axes
yeah.
and shit. And it's like that would be really cool to see on.
Zakumata is pretty popular.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
A buddy of mine, he picked up Stormtrooper mods.
Those are cool.
So
That's
again, like most people, as long as you're not going to an official Games Workshop Grand Prix tournament, don't give a fuck. As long as it stands the rule of cool, they don't care. Games Workshop will be like, where's the base? Show me the base. Show me the base model, and then
Where's the beef?
yeah, where's the beef? And then, you can be like, haha, here's where it all comes from. And then I just threw on some shoulder pads and a different head.
Yeah.
It's I guess more than 60%.
And
It's not.
and
typically.
also-
It depends on the model.
with the fact
Pauldrons in a head?
It's less than 60. That's like 20% of a model. I don't remember what it counts to. It depends on the model because there's like high qualities, and then there's warlords, and then there's all sorts of different nonsense. Like mechs are I think the most expensive model you can get is like $1,000, and it's a specific Titan. It's nuts.
I thought it was a
wouldn't
spaceship.
that be a Meganaut?
It's all I know is that it's like a 3-hour build.
Mega Gargant?
All I know is that it's like a 3-hour build, and it's like $1,000
Fuck that.
It might be more. I have no idea. Inflation. Thanks, Biden.
Why are my eggs so damn high?
And then, but yeah, like, it depends really on the model. So just your standard Space Marine, that's, about 60%. That's like 20%, 30%.
And most of the
So
standard
if
Space
you-
Marines are probably about yay big. Now,
That big.
okay, now for Tiberos, I figure his model is probably a little bit bigger due to his
So
size.
if you were to
His
say
girth.
get like a pretty sturdy chain axe cosplay, then just go in there and beat the tar out of the other nerds, will that count as a win?
So Tyvaris, he's typically, if you're a larger Space Marine, you get outfitted into Terminator armor, which is just bigger boy shit, right?
His is
They're-
custom.
No. He, so you have the standard armor with Terminator like shit attached onto it. He has Terminator armor with Dreadnought shit on it because he's so fucking large.
Sure, is it Dreadnought shit or is it Centurion shit?
Dreadnought. He's bigger than Centurions.
My God.
I
He's
think
big boy.
I think he is the second largest Space Marine, period, including Primarchs. Like, he is nutty. He was behind people. They thought it was a giant statue, and then it started moving.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a Space Marine. Saw it and was like, "Oh, that's a statue. Why is it moving?"
Realizes it's not a statue and just goes, oh, crap.
Yeah. And then you are the dead.
Uh-huh.
Because again,
Especially
they
if you're
show
his
up
enemy.
and fuck shit up, and then they go away.
There's a certain
There's a few different chapters that you don't want to fuck with.
yeah, there's a certain panel that comes up.
The
every
Minotaurs?
time I look up. No,
The
no,
space
no, no,
sharks?
No, not the Minotaurs. Yeah, with the space sharks. Every
No,
time
no,
I
no.
look
I'm just
up
saying, like,
Tyberos,
those are the ones that you don't want to fuck
yeah,
with.
no,
flamey
Minotaurs,
guys?
Elementers.
Yeah. Like those, obviously, if you have a Primarch, you don't want to fuck with that chapter.
Yeah.
Just because they still have their Primarch. And you lose to a Primarch. It's just essentially facts for anybody not Karn or Tyberus.
Yeah, also, or not Tyberus. But yeah, no, what I was mentioning was one of my favorite panels is the panel of Tyberus standing in front of a Mantis warrior, and he's just looking up at him like, you just know underneath.
I'm in danger.
Yeah, you just know underneath that armor, he's sitting there like, I'm going to get ripped into pieces.
So
I'm dead.
Can you play Primarchs on the game?
If you have... So, again, they're Forge World. So they're expensive.
And
they only release certain ones. But you can get Mortarion. You can get Magnus.
Can you get Aggron?
Angron is coming out with a model because they...
New model.
So, no, he didn't have a model. It was a Forge World specific one, and that was, like, 20 years ago. It was retired.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's getting a model for the first time in God knows how long. But the World Eaters haven't had a model update since, like, 2001. So they are overdue by a long shot for models. So they're getting new models, and they're getting their own specific codex, which is with the rules for your chapter to how to play.
They didn't
There's
have
generic rule. No.
Huh.
There's generic rules, and then there's rules for your chapter, and then there's chapter approved addendums, which is based off of different lore that goes into it and different like we need to balance it just a little bit. And then they still release White Dwarf, their magazine, which has FAQs and even more addendums, but at a more frequent rate. It's just like, yeah, so we kind of goofed on this. It's actually 4 points instead of 5 points.
So you have to literally just keep up with these fucking magazines all the time, too?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
The chapter approved addendums are like once a year or once every other year. The codexes are usually
the real lawyer.
The codexes are usually when it comes out with the latest edition of the game, so the latest codex, if they're getting their own. So, like, I had the Chaos Space Marine Codex because that's where it was based out of for the World Eaters. And then they got their own codex, or it's in the process. I don't know offhand yet. And that will now supersede the Chaos Space Marine one. So I'll be using that with a chapter-approved addendum when it comes out with one, the latest one for the World Eaters. And then I need to follow along suit with the White Dwarfs on anyone that could be relevant. Now, you can go through, read them, and see that there's nothing relevant for it, and be like, fuck it, I don't need it this week, and rely on somebody else to have it on the updated. There's also a lot of apps that make it easier to keep track of all this shit, because they update throughout the course of internet. Weird.
I mean, the internet gets shit fast. Porn? And
That said,
death news.
We've been doing this for like 2 hours, so let's call it a night.
Oh, shit.
Good night, everybody,
It was fun. Come back again.
Good night.
and good fight.
Did you just Nazi salute?
No, I went like this, you fuck. What's wrong with you?